Hello everyone, welcome. We're here from beautiful sunny San Diego where it is, I'm guessing about 70 degrees right now. So welcome. Wherever you're joining us from, I want to let you know that my name is Teresa. I'm one of the enrollment specialists here at New School of Architecture and Design. I'll be introducing our other guests in just a second. We are located in the downtown area, so if you ever have a chance to visit us here on campus, I will say we have an open house this Friday morning. Save my phone number. If you have any questions after this webinar, I'll be available to help you out. My number is 619-684-8883. And again, my name is Teresa. So I am one of the enrollment specialists, as mentioned. I've been working with New School for about 3 years, and I help students enroll in our different programs. So there's always a lot we can talk about. We will be covering with Kurt Hunker and Michael Stepner our program offerings for this summer's winter session, which will be in Neuroscience and Healthy Urbanism. So to my right, your left, is Kurt Hunker, and
hello, everyone.
He is the acting dean of our architecture and construction management programs here at New School, particularly our graduate studies. And Professor Hunker has been working with New School for a long time. He has been affiliated with architectural education for many years and has also been well decorated as a consulting architect. To his right is Michael Stepner, who is acting chair of our architecture programs and was the San Diego City architect for many years. So he is also an AIA fellow. Both have such fantastic resumes. Institute for Urban Design fellow, American Institute of Certified Planners fellow. So the list goes on and on. You're in very good company today. We're gonna have a nice presentation for you. At the end, I will be just giving a little bit more details for step-by-step instructions to apply and reiterate a couple of other important notices for you. So what we will be covering today over the next hour, we know a lot of you are maybe on your lunch breaks or have busy schedules, as many future architects have, or current architects. We're going to discuss, in terms of Neuroscience and Healthy Urbanism summer programs, our location, our background, and our attachment to these different subjects. Of course, cost. There will be an industry discount we can talk about. And very popular questions, what's in the program? Lecture speakers, guests, we'll talk about that as well. And finally, learning objectives, and we'll go over a basic itinerary so you can look forward to all the good that you can expect from these summer programs. We'll follow with a Q&A, and as I mentioned, we'll talk about how to apply. So thanks again for joining us, and I will leave the floor to our department chairs. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll make a little adjustment here, and then I'll start off talking about the summer programs. Welcome, everyone. Happy to have you on today. This is something new for us. We've always had summer programs, summer school, summer coursework. There's always been activity at New School in the summers, but this year we're doing something different. There was a lot of interest in our traditional on-ground certificate programs in neuroscience for architecture and healthy urbanism. Those take place over the course of the academic year. For many people, that's just not a viable option for getting a grounding in these important subject areas that we think are really emerging points of practice in architecture and urban design. So we created these 4-day programs, one after the other, that really give you a deep dive into the subject area, introduces you to key concepts, to applications in design and practice, and introduces you to some of the key figures in both of these areas. You see on the slide on your screen, the neuroscience program begins August 14th. That's a Monday through Thursday format. And the healthy urbanism program, which Mike will speak to, begins the week before that on August 7th, and also is a 4-day program at New School. And you see the image there of one of the studios, the original studio here. We're in the heart of the downtown. We're in repurposed studio space, and we like where we are, and we like the urban engagement that comes with being New School.
Little technical difficulty. I just wanted to say a few words, at least give a few words from our president, Marvin Malika, who is a very distinguished person in the field of architecture, having been president of the National AIA, president of the Collegiate Schools of Architecture, and joined us about 1.5 years ago from a long tenure at the University of North Carolina. But he said, as architects and designers, we have a special way of seeing the world. What we do is valuable in the rest of the world, to the rest of the world. And what it means, and really focuses on one of our sort of our mantra or our goal statement, is human-centered design. What we do here is all about people who are the ultimate users of anything we do, whether it's architecture, building construction management, or product design. It's all about how we as designers serve the needs of the community.
NewSchool has been around since 1980. We've been in our downtown location since 1988. Both Mike and I have been involved with the school, as Teresa said, for many years. And our mission, you see on this slide, is to nurture and inspire design-minded students. We do that through a series of degree offerings in 2 schools, School of Architecture and Construction Management, which I'm the acting dean, and the School of Design, which is run in conjunction with our sister school, Domus Academy in Milan, which offers programs in interior architecture, product design, media design, and design studies. So we're about design in everything we do. We're about the built environment as well.
And our philosophy really is building on what Marvin Malika's quote was, it's rooted in design thinking. We focus on preparation for practice and project-based learning. What that means is that we really are not teaching you to design a product or an object, but we're teaching you how to think about design. What is the role of design? How important it is in terms of really addressing community issues and community health issues in case of our 2 special programs. And we see this as a broadening role for the entire design community, and this is where we believe is going to be the heart of where a lot of the activity is.
NewSchool is accredited. We have all the applicable accreditations, the institutional through WASC, the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. Many consider that sort of the gold standard of accreditation. And our architecture programs are accredited by the National Architectural Accrediting Board, NAB. Recently, in fact, a year ago, the visiting team came out and gave both the graduate and undergraduate programs the full 8-year term of accreditation. We're very proud of that. So we have the accreditations that we need. You also see on the slide, we have programs that are known in many quarters. Our students compete in design competitions, in problem solving competitions, and win awards. And we're very proud of our faculty too. They're very engaged in the profession, in the community, in design in general.
We are located, as Teresa said, in downtown San Diego, where it is very nice out today. But more than that, we are in the East Village section of our downtown. And it is an interesting area that we feel that we're the heart of. It's an area that is rapidly changing. It's going from parking lots and construction yards and other things to a neighborhood, a very mixed kind of neighborhood in terms of housing, but also in terms of the word contemporary innovation. You see it on the screen. We are in what is called by the city the Innovation District. It is an area where we're seeing a lot of startups, design professionals. Some call it the Idea District, innovation, design, education, and arts. All this activity is beginning to take place all around us. We like to tell people we're the anchor. I've told that to the city council many times, that we're the start of this whole process down here in downtown San Diego. It is also the heart of one of the largest educational complexes in the region. There's about 35,000 students in our East Village area, and you can go from preschool to postgraduate work at the various schools, and that leads to a lot of interaction. The University of California came out with a study a few years ago talking about where creativity is going to begin to take place, the kind of atmosphere you need, and they pointed to the East Village as that one of those sites. So much so that the University of California is opening a special facility, satellite campus, to deal with innovation and design right across the street from where we are. And they will start construction, I believe, this fall. And we have a lot of collaborative arrangements with UCSD on the neuroscience and on the healthy urbanism topics.
I'll speak for a few minutes and a few slides about the Neuroscience for Architecture summer program. It is built from our certificate program, and I'll give you a little background if you're not familiar with the school or how we teach neuroscience. All of this began as an outgrowth of the 2003 American Institute of Architects National Conference held in San Diego. The Academy of Neuroscience for Architecture, ANFA, an acronym some of you may be familiar with, was the legacy project of that AIA convention. And its first home, ANFA's first home, was in fact a New School of Architecture Design, and its first president, John Eberhard, who is a national figure in this subject, had his offices at New School. We've been offering coursework in neuroscience since that time, a year-long sequence of 3 lecture courses and a follow-up design studio. And we're one of the very, very few schools of architecture and design in the country to offer that coursework in-house. We don't offer it through the medical school. We don't offer it through one of the science departments. We're offering that through architecture. And that is what we've built the summer program on. We've taken our faculty and collaborators from our certificate program, brought them together to create this intensive deep dive program that over the course of 4 days will give you a grounding in how the brain and the built environment interact, why this is important for what we're doing in architecture in the 21st century, and so forth. I want to point out something on this current slide in bold type. This is, if you're an AIA member, eligible for 12 learning units in the health, safety, and welfare category. So I want to make sure AIA members out there understand that. There's a series of learning objectives associated with the program. We've listed 5 of them here, but I think there are many, many others. First of all, we want people to understand how neuroscientists and architects collaborate on research, but probably more applicable to many of you on practice, how neuroscience is beginning to become an important contribution to the design world. We'll give you a basic understanding of neuroanatomy. We're not going to train neuroscientists or neurosurgeons over 4 days, but we do want you to be familiar with the workings of the brain and understand areas that the neuroscientists you'll be hearing from speak about. We'll look at current research from several neuroscientists who are focused on areas that have a direct relationship to what we do in architectural design. And we've listed 2 here, wayfinding and visual perception. Those are at the heart of what we do. We'll talk about how practitioners apply this work in their own architectural work. So we'll hear from the architectural side. And through the studio component of the program, we'll have a chance to talk about evidence-based design, to use that process in a collaborative way as a method for incorporating neuroscience and ideas from neuroscience into architectural design work. As I mentioned earlier, it is a 4-day program, Monday through Thursday. It involves lectures, presentations by invited guests, studio workshops, field trips. There will be opportunities for networking and making contact with some of the important figures in the field. Participants will have access to all of New School's facilities, the library, the studios, the materials lab. The support of the entire school is there for us over the summer. Everything's in operation, and we'll rely on that as we go forward. The program does include continental breakfast. We include lunches. That allows us to focus on the work at New School. There will be a reception. There'll be a dinner. That's all part of the program. That's part of the program fee. So we've structured what we think is an intensive but engaging and very informative 4-day program for you. I want to spend a minute talking about our program faculty, some of whom are regular contributors at New School, some of whom are coming specially for this program. You see in the lower right on the screen someone who may be a familiar face to many. That's Stephen Hall, the gold medal winning architect. Stephen will be here to present. He's been a guest of the AMFA conferences. He has an interest in neuroscience, and his own practice really deals with thinking about perception, the way the brain perceives the environment, and I think you'll enjoy hearing from him. Above his photo is one of Juhani Palasma, the Finnish educator and architect. He's been thinking about the brain and architecture and design for decades now, author of books such as Eyes of the Skin, and an important figure in phenomenology and architecture. Juhani is familiar with the program. He's been at the school before. He will be here over the course of several of those days, particularly interested in interacting with Stephen and interacting with students in the program. And we're really pleased to have him back in San Diego. In the upper left is Tatiana Berger, Associate Professor of Architecture at NewSchool. She teaches in the program. She will be engaged with it. And lastly, of those four is Sergei Gepstein, who is a PhD director of the Collaboratory for Adaptive Sensory Technologies at the Salk Institute. And he too is teaching on the faculty in the Neuroscience Certificate Program. I will also want to mention a few others. Gil Cook, formerly our Dean, Fellow of the American Institute of Architects, key member of our neuroscience faculty, will be involved through the entire program. And we have several researchers we're very pleased to bring back to NewSchool. Tom Albright, he's the head of faculty at the Salk Institute. He's a vision studies researcher. He has an intense interest in this topic as it relates to architecture, and gave a very popular session at the AI convention just a few weeks ago in Orlando, and fielded questions from architects after that. And with him, Fred Gage, Fred Rusty Gage, as they call him, one of the key figures in this area at the Salk Institute. Fred has been doing groundbreaking work studying the brain and the regeneration of brain cells, and he's going to give us an update on what he's been doing along the way. So we think we've got a full agenda. We've got some great people coming to speak, and our own faculty, and we think you'll find that this is a really rich environment for learning about this important topic. I'm going to turn it over to Mike now to talk about healthy urbanism.
Yeah, I will talk a little bit about both the healthy urbanism and the neuroscience programs come under the umbrella of what we call the Center for Healthy Environments. It's a sort of think tank research group that's part of the school and part of really talking about these topics in earnest and focusing on many of our educational programs on these topics. But in many ways, it's very much in the same format as the neuroscience program, a 4-day, all-day program. We want to provide attendees with an intense introduction to what healthy urbanism is all about. It is, we want to have participation in presentations, studio work, discussions, field trips with NewSchool faculty, and again, guest speakers, as Kurt had pointed out with the other neuroscience program. We want to have everybody come away with an understanding of the impact of the design of the built environment on the impact of the health of individuals and the health of the community. This is not new. This is something that Vitruvius wrote about 2,000 years ago in the 10 books of architecture. It's something that we as individuals and as professionals remember and forget about the connection between the built environment and the health of the community. We sort of follow the admonition of Dr. Richard J. Jackson from UCLA, one of the leaders in this area, who talked about America's health threat really being poor urban design. How do we design environments to make us a healthier nation? We are always in a race with one or two other countries to be the most overweight and less healthy nation in the developing world. And sometimes we're at the top of the list, and sometimes we only go down 1 or 2 notches. We want to talk about how we begin to deal with those things. And as Kurt mentioned, we also are offering health, safety, and welfare credits for the AIA and other organizations as well. We want to study the way cities are designed and the direct impact on the health of residents and workers. We're going to go look at part of the field work at some examples in San Diego, one of which which I'll talk about a little bit in terms of one of the speakers, is our City Heights neighborhood, which is our port of entry in San Diego, where because of some grants a few years ago, we were able to focus the whole revitalization effort under a healthy neighborhood umbrella. So we'll talk about urban issues, including regionalism. We'll talk about community and public infrastructure. We'll talk about the social issues that occur. What happens with homelessness? What happens with senior citizens? How do people live as they get older and remain healthy and active members of the community? And what are those political and economic issues that really design the built environment, more so than the usual things that architects think about? So that's one focus of what we'll be covering in the course. Right. And the format again is we'll begin at 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll have continental breakfast. We'll have lectures and go out in the field. We'll have workshops, and we will have some studio work with some of the local practitioners in healthy urbanism to test things on the ground. And our objectives, we want to understand the connection between the health of the community and the design of the built environment. We want a basic understanding of healthy urbanism. We want to understand the research that many of our guest speakers are going to talk about. We want to hear from those practitioners who are doing research, who are involved on a day-to-day basis in the field. And we want to develop a design project incorporating the principles of healthy urbanism that can serve as a model and approach to other projects that you take back with you to wherever you're coming from. In our faculty, incomplete list, but one of the people we'll have is Colin Eller, who is a cognitive neuroscientist and urban designer, who is head of the Urban Realities Library at the University of Waterloo in Canada. Eve Edelstein, PhD, who just did a presentation at the AIA convention, in which we wanted her to duplicate here. She's a graduate of our architecture program, a neuroscientist who came back to study architecture to pursue the design and the connections to design, who is now head of a large research component at Perkins & Will Architects, an international design firm. And then Tracy Delaney, who is founding director of Public Health Alliance of Southern California, formerly with the County of San Diego as their public health director. And with Tracy, with the NewSchool, with the Active Living Research Program at UCSD, we were the recipients of a large grant to study the effect of health in design and the quality of life for individuals. And then I will be participating along with some other staff and faculty from the NewSchool as part of the program.
We wanted to talk a little bit at this point. I'm sure that there are questions about it. Some of the logistics behind the program, as we said, both the Neuroscience and Healthy Urbanism summer programs are eligible for AIA Continuing Edu-Credit in the HSW or Health Safety Welfare category. That, of course, assumes participants are AIA members in good standing. We're also offering industry discounts in organizations such as the American Institute of Architects, the American Society of Landscape Architects, Urban Land Institute. You see the set of acronyms on the screen there. So there is a discount within industry as long as registrants apply by June 1st. The program fee for each of these programs is $2,500. That includes the 4 full days of program. That includes the breakfasts, lunches, field trips, course materials. We may be handing out reading and related documents along the way. We won't expect you to be bringing texts with you, really bringing nothing more than a laptop or a pad of paper, really. This will cover receptions. There's a dinner at the end of the program included in that fee as well. So everything you need at NewSchool is covered in that program fee, and that includes access to the other facilities that we mentioned earlier. There is plenty of housing in downtown San Diego. We're very close to the Gaslamp Quarter, one of the prime sort of entertainment zones in the city, and many hotels are easy walking distance from the school if you're interested in staying downtown, and we can help you with those locations along the way. Mike, anything to add?
No, I just think I will always add what you need to bring with you is walking shoes, because we're going to go out on field trips and really look at the city. and really test both the neuroscience ideas and the healthy urbanism ideas by looking at what's on the ground and what could be on the ground to begin to serve these purposes.
Speaking of field trips, one thing I want to add is that in the neuroscience program, we will be making a trip to the Salk Institute. We're going to hear from their researchers when we're there. If you haven't been to the Salk, it's a San Diego must-see. And this is a golden opportunity to have access and really hear from the people who work there. So we're looking forward to that.
So please join us.
Well, Kurt, we had a couple of questions here, and this is as good a time as any for me to let whoever's listening in know that please, if you have access to type of question there, let us know which of the two programs that you're interested in. It would be helpful to us and give us a little context when we're answering questions. And by the way, this has been recorded, so everybody who RSVP'd will be getting a copy. Again, you can follow up with me. This is Teresa here from the enrollment office, and I'm here for any follow-up after this discussion. Kurt and Mike, we did get one great question. You had started just now talking a little bit more about some examples of field trips, mentioning the Salk Institute. Can you maybe give a couple other examples, or is that the star of the show?
That's really the primary field trip in the neuroscience program. We really want to make sure we have time on campus to focus on what we're doing. The studio component may involve, as Mike had mentioned, walking tours where it makes sense to get out and do things. We are in downtown San Diego. It's a great environment for this kind of thing. And it may be how our instructors want to deal with things like wayfinding and senses beyond vision in thinking about design. So we're looking at those options. We're looking for those opportunities. And certainly, whether we do those things or not, we hope participants in the program have an opportunity to get out and see what's going on in San Diego and East Village and downtown, which is really sort of our backyard. Good question.
But we're going to go beyond that as well, and we'll look at some of the communities where things are taking place or where things should take place. Colin Ellard, who is one of our guest experts, his program includes walking neighborhoods with sensory material on, and I'm not even sure exactly how to describe it, and really helping us test how we react to certain pieces of the built environment. Does a blank wall cause a reaction, and how do you really record that as evidence-based design, and then how do you think about what you do to design a space that encourages walking, that encourages interaction versus one that discourages somebody from walking by. We'll look at some of those things. We'll look at how people actually use the built environment, the public realm, and how to take lessons from that and design accordingly. So that's part of the work we'll do.
Great, and we are in a perfect location for independent exploration. We've got the beautiful library with the glass dome just up the street, Petco Park, another work of art, so plenty of inspiration. We did have another great question. This might be one for me, but the question was, who can apply for the courses? Do you require a portfolio or resume to apply? Please back me up on this.
Sure.
But I believe it is for mid-career professionals, ideally. Someone who has
graduate students, particularly in areas around neuroscience. We've had many requests, many questions about that. We'd love to have them here. The good news is you don't need a portfolio. We ask for a resume. It gives us a chance to get to know people better and to sort of fine tune how we put the sessions together. So the application process is fairly simple.
easy enough. Okay, good. And I can always talk about how to apply for that once we know that the student is a good candidate. So one more question for now. Diane has asked if there are any discounts for students. And I thought when I first read that that meant NewSchool students, but I don't think Diane is a currently enrolled student.
If we have students who are members of the American Institute of Architects students or a national organization of minority architecture students, they would be eligible for this.
And I would say any of the other organizations that were mentioned
Absolutely.
that have student chapters or student organizations that would apply across the board.
And I would encourage anyone listening and watching the webinar today, if you're not sure, if you're part of an organization, a student organization, get in touch with Teresa. We undoubtedly have not listed every applicable organization in that slide. So we'll be happy to take a look at that.
And so if you are interested in applying, anybody who's out there listening, please, my email address is right on the screen here. It's tvotolato, and that's my last name, at newschoolarch.edu. And please, feel free to include a little bit about yourself. It's not required, but I do like to know who we're working with. And we, as Kurt mentioned, we would like your resume. Once we know that you're qualified, we can walk you through the step-by-step instructions to apply. It's super easy. You go online and complete a quick application. It's name, address, done. So.
And one thing I want to mention among the applicants so far, we really have sort of an international audience, which is wonderful to see. That's gratifying. I think that's going to make the programs that much richer. So there is widespread interest out there. The groups will be small. We'll do some team exercises, but the idea is to really involve you with these leading practitioners and neuroscientists in the field, give you a chance to work with them, to talk to them individually. It's not a sort of giant lecture format kind of thing. We're known for offering these sorts of programs at a small scale that really allows people a great deal of interaction. And we're looking forward to that too. And I can say from the side of the faculty, they're very much looking forward to working with students, working with professionals, working with people who've been out in the field and have an interest in these areas.
I mean, they provide a great experience for everybody who's involved, whether faculty or staff or the student participants.
Well, fantastic. I'm looking to see if we have any other questions. Please, if you didn't have a chance to type something out today, again, my email address is right on the screen. I'd like to thank Kurt and Mike for both joining us and introducing you to these exciting summer courses, and we look forward to more questions soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.